To agenda.
Thank you.
Would you say Islam is an anti-democratic religion?
If Islam is practiced in its most pure form, yes, it's very anti-democratic.
In what way?
Let me make a distinction between Islam and Muslims. In Islam, which I define as the religion founded by Muhammad and which is written in the Quran, how you should practice it, and in the Sunnah or the Hadith, which is the way that the Prophet Muhammad wants Muslims to behave, then in that sense it's very undemocratic because laws are, you can only adhere to the law of God, and secular law is unthinkable. And when secular law and Islam clash, then Islamic law is supposed to go fast.
Does that mean actually that it's not possible to integrate Islam within the European society?
It's possible to integrate Muslims within the European society. If you wanted to integrate Islam, then that means that you would have to rub out a lot of passages from the Quran and from the Hadith, which of course you wouldn't do. But I think the idea would be to teach Muslims to reform their religion in a way that it is adaptable to countries with a liberal democracy.
You wrote the script to the film Submission,
yes.
Which focused on the suppression of Muslim women. What did you actually want to accomplish with that film?
In the first place, I wanted to put down a concept of Islam as a religion where you can move from submission to the will of God. That's the name of the film, but submission is also the translation of Islam, to a concept where you have, as an individual, a different relationship with God, and that means one of dialogue, one of confrontation. Next, I wanted to show that there are passages in the Holy Quran which are very, very cruel to women and which are practiced. 4 of them. One is the one that says, if you have premarital sex, you should be flogged. That applies both to men and women, but it's much easier to prove with women because once they get pregnant and they are not married, then you have it there. There is a verse that says the woman should be beaten when she's not obedient to her husband, which tells the men that they can have sex with their wives whenever they want, even if the wife doesn't want to. And the one that says you should uncover yourself except your hand and your face. And through submission, by putting these passages on the bodies of women and translating that into image, I wanted to provoke discussion on the content and the way it's practiced.
But did you have any idea at that time what kind of reaction this film should trigger?
Well, of course, I expected the normal reaction of it's blasphemy, it's you shouldn't be writing the Holy Quran on the bodies of women. But I had my answer ready, which was, what is holier? The human being, the woman, or the text? And if the holy text says, beat her, then you have to face that reality. It is written in the Quran. It's practiced by thousands of men who tell their wives, I have a right to beat you. It's a God-given right. And we have to discuss that.
As a result of the film, the filmmaker Theo van Gogh was stabbed to death of a Muslim fanatic because of the film, actually.
He was stabbed to death, he was slaughtered, and he was shot. He was killed in a very, very cruel way.
Do you, in any sense, felt some kind of responsibility for his death?
Of course I did, because he was killed, or the direct reason to kill him was because of making the film Submission. So in that sense, I felt and still feel very bad about it. I still feel guilty about it. On the other hand, I don't regret making Submission at all, because the two are different. What I regret is putting Theo van Gogh's name there. When we were making the film, we both decided we are not going to have the faces of the actresses shown, and we are not going to put the rest of the crew on the names of the production team on the title role. But Theo van Gogh insisted that he wanted to do that, and he said, the minute you kill my voice, the minute you say I can't have my own film shown, then in a way I am dead, and he didn't want to do that. And I know it's on hindsight, and I really think it's horrible that he had to die in that way. But I also think he's very brave, and he was very honest and very vocal in saying, we should not be allowed to be shut up.
Mm. The murderer left behind a death threat against you, a letter stuck to Van Gogh's chest with a knife. How did that affect your life?
I had security, and the security I had at that time was maximized. I've also become more afraid because even though I had threats before and I knew I was being protected, I didn't know precisely against what. And the whole scene, the killing of Theo van Gogh, the way he was killed, made it real that the people who are threatening are willing and able to carry it out. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, yes, it's put me in a very harsh reality.
And you are constantly protected by bodyguards, even as we speak. Is it possible for you to live any kind of normal life?
I try as much as possible to lead a normal life, yes.
Radical Islam is a danger to the entire world, according to your book, which will be released this week in Sweden. In what way do you think governments, politicians should deal with this issue?
I think in the first place by calling problems by their name. If there are radical Muslims who threaten society and they are present in this country, then the first thing is to voice it, to engage moderate Muslims to stand up and fight against the radical section within their community, to recognize that radical Islam is going to undermine the rule of law, and especially for liberals, it's very important to stay far away from theories like multiculturalism that say all cultures are alike, all religions are alike, because that has led to the creation of ethnic and religious enclaves, and it's there that radical Islam thrives. So to governments, I would say, prevent that as much as possible.
As a politician and as a member of the Dutch Parliament, are you at all concerned that critical views against Islam will lead to xenophobia and social unrest?
In fact, it's quite the opposite. I think that right now, the debates, which is crucial to the future of Europe, between migrants and natives, and Europe needs migrants, is being monopolized by the radical right. And I think that it's time now that liberal parties take that debate away from them. In some countries like Belgium, the debate is being monopolized by the radical right and by the radical Islamist groups. And I don't think it belongs there. And I think keeping things as they are, the moderate parties just keeping quiet and not mentioning the problems there will make the problem grow bigger and bigger. That's our experience in the Netherlands. And I would say no, it would be working into the hands of xenophobia and xenophobic people if we just pretend there is no problem and stick our heads in the sand.
Ayan Hirsi Ali, thank you very much for talking to us tonight.
You're welcome.